Snake! What was she fighting for? What am I fighting for? What are you fighting for?
If we make it through this, I'll tell you.
Okay, I'll be searching too.
The decades-old story of the action super spy saving the world has been copied and replicated over numerous mediums, and I think it's fair to say that the foundations of the Metal Gear franchise similarly embrace these genre tropes. The third entry in the series, Metal Gear Solid, does not depart from this tradition. From a surface-level perspective, the narrative re-implements the same tropes that the series was originally influenced from. Under the surface, however, Metal Gear Solid's narrative objectives often undermine these traditional tropes more than they uphold them. After all, they revel in the destruction of the genre and the death of the hero.
I'll be there in an hour.
I'll tell him. Hey, your old case sounds interesting, James.
Make that an hour and a half.
Told you I wasn't a fool.
Call me Snake.
Fuck you, asshole.
Fuck you, asshole.
If you've seen a few older action films, you know that they follow a similar formula. A mysterious man shaped by the countless challenges he's weathered is summoned to handle a situation that no one but him can handle.
The covert operation's being geared up in the Far East. Your name was dug out by the computer as one of 3 most able to complete the mission. You flew the Gulf Fire over Leningrad. You know how to get in quiet. You're all I've got.
That's why we really need you for this mission.
You're the only one who can beat him. Now that I've met you, I know. You've got something that he doesn't.
His initial objective is a simple and noble one.
Mission? Recon for POWs in Nam. About an hour ago, a small jet went down inside New York City. The president was on board. Find the president, bring him out in 24 hours, and you're a free man.
First, you're to rescue the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, and the president of Arms Tech, Kenneth Baker. They're both being held as hostages.
Those are some heavy-duty hostages.
Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability to launch a nuclear strike, and stop them if they do.
And when he has a bit of time to spare, he takes a break to cheekily flirt with the support team.
You've never been to Istanbul? Where the moonlight on the Bosphorus is irresistible.
Maybe I should get you to take me there someday. I've tried everything else.
Darling Moneypenny, you know I never even look at another woman.
Oh, really, Jane?
Well, if you make it back in one piece, maybe I'll let you do a strip search on me.
I'll hold you to that, Doctor. Well, I know I won't be bored for the next 18 hours.
Come on. I can't believe I'm being hit on by the famous Solid Snake.
In that abstract, the mission seems entirely black and white in terms of who is good and who is bad.
So someone needs to penetrate, gather intelligence, and report back. Sounds like a spy movie.
This genre referencing is hardly new to video games, but Metal Gear Solid warps these tropes as the player progresses through the game. The game holds its facade for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, the same length as the films that have influenced it. But by the time the hour and a half action film is over, you're spending time with characters beyond what the trope-laden action film is willing to show.
There are no heroes in war. All the heroes I know are either dead or in prison, one or the other.
But Snake, you're a hero, aren't you?
I'm just a man who's good at what he does, killing. There's no winning or losing for a mercenary. The only winners in war are the people.
That's right, and you fight for the people.
I've never fought for anyone but myself. I've got no purpose in life, no ultimate goal.
Come on.
It's only when I'm cheating death on the battlefield, the only time I feel truly alive.
Seeing other people die makes you feel alive, huh? You love war and don't want it to stop? Is it the same with all great soldiers throughout history?
Snake in many ways holds true to the traditions of the action hero, but Metal Gear Solid shines a more sardonic light on its star. In the real world, there is a value put on having friends, and those with none are branded as abnormal. Snake abjectly admits to his own friendless abnormality, only enhancing it when the two people he does call friends include someone he personally knows almost nothing about, and someone who has betrayed him and used him like a tool. His social awkwardness and warped ideas of friendship don't really fit into the revering nature of his heroism. In a certain light, he's a social pariah. Snake doesn't even have a name for most of the game. People address him as Snake as they only know the legends. The player doesn't even know the name of the character that they're controlling, because they're enacting the path of the hero and not the man. But this is only one of the layers of the hero that Metal Gear Solid erodes away. Independence and strength are traits that have value in society. A man whose function is that of a weak puppet for a master wouldn't qualify them for the status of hero. But Snake is exactly that, a pawn for greater, more powerful people. Through most of the game, Snake is manipulated by the antagonists into arming Rex for its nuclear launch, a situation that would not have occurred had he not been involved. His actions greatly aided the villains in the threat of a potential world war. Does that sound like a hero to you? His employers are no less villainous, maybe even more villainous than the game's antagonists. His true mission is to assassinate both the hostages and the terrorists in order to keep them from revealing information and to retrieve Metal Gear's test data so it can be secretly mass-produced. They don't even count on his ability as a warrior to kill these people, instead injecting him with a sort of virus that kills them instead. Metal Gear Solid is a game where the hero doesn't even kill the main antagonist, a virus does. The hero isn't even given the right to end the antagonist himself. The hero is simply a tool for different sides of evil. He's just a mule for a virus. A hero doing evils is something people might be able to come to terms with, but doing them accidentally as a sort of suicide mission shows you the perspective of heroes by the people who have sent them forth.
I see. Oh well, that's okay. You two are an embarrassment from the 1970s.
But even beyond destroying the reputation and status of the hero, Metal Gear Solid pushes it further. Not only is there the death of the soul, but the physical death itself. In the previous games, Snake was a member of Foxhound, thwarting rogue terrorists from starting global conflicts. In Metal Gear Solid, Foxhound is the villain. A snake is the villain. Solid Snake's objective is to kill Foxhound and to kill Snake. The Colonel is retired, Miller is dead, and in some way or another, Solid Snake will die too. The hero myth will die out. Liquid is fully aware of the death of the hero. In the past, he was forced into the hero role, and he was even made in a hero's image. That's why his villainous plot revolves around creating a world where heroes are still relevant.
What are you really after?
A world where warriors like us are honored as we once were, as we should be.
That was Big Boss's fantasy.
It was his dying wish. When he was young, during the Cold War, the world needed men like us. We were valued then. We were desired. But things, are different now. We're losing our place in a world that no longer needs us. A world that now spurns our very existence. You should know that as well as I do.
There's one more important thing that I haven't talked about yet. I've established that Metal Gear Solid is killing the hero. But why is it killing the hero? In these mediums, the hero is a sort of perfect fantasy, a desire projected onto the screen. The hero will use inhuman power to perform extraordinary feats outside the expectation of possibility. But most people are aware of the difference between themselves and the hero. They know in their hearts that they're not Hercules, Perseus, Rambo, or Snake. That is why people seek out this media, to briefly live out the fantasy for themselves. But desire for fantasy is what spawns the division between the audience and the hero. The very acts that make the hero's adventure engaging is also what separates them from common people. Uniquely different from ordinary people, the hero is a demigod, By making the fantasy so heightened, so dazzling, you have made it unattainable and people unworthy. This is the subconscious sentiment that is fostered within us human beings who live in the shadow of these chimerical deities. Metal Gear Solid isn't tearing apart the hero archetype in order to criticize it, rather than for cynical reasons, more for tearing down the walls between the everyman and the hero, lowering the hero and uplifting the everyman, adjusting the level between them until there is no distinguishing difference. I want to shift the focus away from Snake and onto Meryl and Otacon for a moment. From when you first meet these characters, I believe it would be fair to say that they haven't achieved the status of hero in comparison to someone like Snake. Both of these characters face pressures from authority figures and have a fantasy ideal of the real world. Meryl has a very romanticized view of soldiers spurred on by the death of her supposed father. Otacon creates machines based on his passion for mecha, without really thinking of the consequences of his creations. A kid who grew up wanting to be a heroic soldier and an anime nerd who wanted to make cool robots. Both characters feel as if they cross into the audience demographic for this game at the time, which is young people who were likely influenced by the same media that Kojima and Fukushima were. Young people who haven't fully discovered themselves yet and are frustrated and depressed. The source of these characters' frustration is their lack of self-acceptance and the lack of their own individualized identity. As the heroic veneer of Snake peels away, Meryl and Otacon become less like sidekicks and more like Snake's equal. These characters are in a way the true protagonists of Metal Gear Solid, as they symbolize the intent behind the hero's destruction: to save an all too common but forgotten group of people from a potential life of dejection. When Colonel fabricates the story of Snake and Meryl dying in the Jeep, within the hard logic of the story, it's so that they can escape without being hounded by the Pentagon. But in a metaphorical sense, the hero known as Snake is dead. Only in this moment do we find that our former hero has a real name, like the rest of us do. The hero dies, and the man is born. A man that doesn't scorn his existence and is hopeful for the future he is going to forge for himself, as well as the future you will forge for yourself. Although this game has a host of deep characters and messages to be lost in, this game is ultimately about you and your life experience. Not so much your experiences of the past, but the experiences of tomorrow and the future. When everyone is talking about Foxdie killing Snake and the potential future there is to be had, the characters are talking about you, the player. This is all Foxdie symbolizes: the uncertainty of when your death will come, but knowing when is meaningless. These characters, they're telling you to live and enjoy life while you can.
What about me? When am I gonna go?
That's up to you.
What do you mean?
Everybody dies when their time is up.
Yeah, so when's mine up?
It's up to you how you use the time left to you. Live, Snake. That's all I can say to you.
The action hero is an archetype that doesn't really exist anymore in games. In the years following Metal Gear Solid, games would transition towards more silent protagonists. Gone is the one-liner spouting hero of old, and in his place is the protagonist who serves purely as a projection or avatar of the player. Is this change a good or a bad thing? It's the nature of things. The times change. Whether it's for better or worse, I don't know. I think Metal Gear Solid sensed how the times were changing and understood that its influences were becoming old-fashioned. Rather than resist the changing times, it champions it, showing you all the warts of its genre and dispels its own myths. The hero in reality is as flawed as you are. The real heroic journey is not single-handedly taking down tanks or helicopters, it's life. That's where the struggles are fought and heroes are made. In the wonders of life lies unique joys that can't be transcribed into media. That's what David wants.
You can leave anytime. Get a head start on your new life.
What do you want?
You mustn't allow yourself to be chained to fate, to be ruled by your genes. Humans can choose the type of life they want to live. The important thing is that you choose life. And then live